So, tell me about the time you made a pie.
No, that was Reynolds too, huh?
Yeah, picking on Reynolds Day.
Yeah, right. I'd made these pies, and just Reynolds was watching me and just sitting in the high chair. Everybody else was outside, and so I took the pie and I just for a joke I put it on the kitchen on the windowsill, and I said to Reynolds, "Now you watch that pie and make sure nobody takes it."
How old was he?
Oh, he was in a high chair, so he must have. I'll bet he wasn't 2 years old. And so anyway, he's watching that pie, and in the meantime, Dad said, "I'm going to go out and take it off the windowsill." So then Dad comes out and he takes that pie and he starts pulling it away, and poor little Ren, he's going, "Oh, oh, oh," the pie. And he was so, oh my, I thought he was going to pass out. He was so scared, that pie going through the thing, and that was cruel. Poor little kid. And so then Dad came in with the pie, said, he took the pie, the thing. Poor kid.
Yeah. Oh,
So now, since we picked on Rennie, you have to pick on David now. Tell the story about David eating all the vitamins.
Yeah. You remember that?
I vaguely do, actually, I think.
You should have been traumatized.
Well, anyway, uh, I come in and there you were with these vitamins, and somehow you put them in the dish. There were vitamins in the dishcloth, and I said to you, were you eating these vitamins? Did you take these vitamins? And you're just looking at me, and no, you did. And I said, how many of them did you eat? And you're not going to confess it. So anyway, I said, come on, kids, everybody come in here. I said, your brother just ate a whole handful of vitamins. He's going to die. Come on in here and say goodbye. Can you imagine?
You got a mean streak, Mom.
Yeah. Dad used to say, you have a wicked tongue.
I do actually kind of remember that. I don't know how old I was, but it made an impression. I mean, at least for a week, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Dad he didn't like it when I played the lottery.
Okay.
And I'd only play the lottery when it was up high. So anyway, I played the lottery, and I came downstairs, and Mom and Dad Dad had us the newspaper, and Dad says, John Eagle just called and said that you won the lottery. And it was like, 150 million or whatever it was this extravagant amount of money. I believed everything they said because you believe your parents. And I was like, what? How did they know that I got it? And it just little by little, because he's holding this. It says it in the library. It says it in the newspaper that somebody won, and you're the Giant Eagle called, and you're the one that has the ticket. Yes. Yeah. I remember.
Yeah. Wicked parents.
Wicked parents.
This is how you parent.
I believed him. What?
Oh, I had one too that I'll confess about. I'll turn the camera over here to sit down and tell the story. But when David was little, because you were there, so we were down at Hilton Head, and he was just at an age where he would believe everything. So I saw these coins.
What is there?
And I watched this thing on the Atocha, which is this shipwreck where these gold coins were found. So anyway, I bought some of them at this little trinket shop. And that night, we're out to dinner, and I was telling Dave about the shipwreck, and every once in a while they still wash up and find them on shore. So then that morning, I went out on the beach and dug a hole and put those coins in it and then covered it all over. And then marked it so that when we came down that afternoon, playing on the beach, David's digging and said, we ought to dig and see if we can't find some coins. And I sort of direct him to that spot. And he's digging, and sure enough, he finds one. And it's like, and we're videotaping the whole thing too, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my, and he's like, and he finds another, so he finds these 3 coins, and he's like, oh, I found these Itochu coins, they're worth millions of dollars. And I just never had the heart to tell him it wasn't true. But what's bad about it is, of course, he's at school, and he's telling all these kids that he found these coins. Of course, these kids are the same age, so they're like, believing in Santa Claus and stuff, so, they're like, oh, aren't you lucky? You found. But I think it was probably a couple years later that started dawning on him. It's like, wait a minute, this probably. But I was never there for that. And it's like I always thought I probably should have clued him in reasonably soon afterwards. But it's one of those things parents just never got around to.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, Mom, you were talking about when you grew up. You were born when? What year were you born?
1929.
Yeah, that's when
April 18, 1929.
That's you remember the stock market crash? I guess not. You're a little young there.
No, I don't think we even knew there was such a thing as stock market.
Right.
Probably not.
Yeah, and then you were saying you went to, was it like a one-room schoolhouse or anything like that?
Well, I think there was 4 rooms in that schoolhouse.
Uh-huh.
But because there's 2 grades in each room.
Uh-huh.
Part of the room was 1st grade and part of the room was 2nd grade. So you had one teacher though.
Yeah.
She would do the 1st grade and 2nd grade. So
Well, where was it?
it was on New Watkins.
That's between Spangler and Bakerton.
Yeah, it was right there at the end of Bakerton, right by the mine, right by Barnes 15 mine.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a big yellow schoolhouse.
Huh.
They used to have a big, I don't know if you call it a radiator. It wasn't like a radiator though. That used to have heat coming out of it. So when you, in the wintertime, you'd come into school, you'd take off your coats, and a lot of kids would throw the coats on that radiator and put your boots beside it and let it kind of dry off and then go hang it up.
Mm-hmm. You have your own books?
No, you never took any books home.
No.
That I can recall. No, you
Yeah.
never took books home. They stayed there at the school.
Hmm.
But you had 4 teachers who were in that school.
And where'd you go to high school?
Then high school, I went to Spangler. But by that time, we had moved. We had moved to Spangler,
Mm-hmm.
so I never did have to go on the bus.
How old were you when your mom died?
11,
So
I
where
was
were
in
you when that happened?
4th grade. I was in 4th grade.
So you were still in the lower school. She was still in
Yeah,
Watkins.
Watkins.
So you lived around Watkins.
yeah, we lived right in front of the coal mine
And then your mom is buried where?
at Nicktown.
And you were saying your dad used to walk from.
He used to walk from Bakerton to Nicktown every day. You wouldn't see him first thing in the morning, and you wouldn't see him till about 3 or 4 in the afternoon. I don't know how long he did that. Probably just that summer after she died, because she died December the 8th, and it was summertime when he used to do that. I don't know if he was laid off or what. But he was a heavy drinker. He was bad enough before she died, but after she died, he got really bad. And then we moved to.
But when he took that walk, so I'm just trying to envision that from Bakerton to Nicktown. It's like, isn't that all woods?
Yeah, and that's the way he'd
It
go.
still is today.
Through the woods.
Is there like a path that goes up there?
Well,
There's a road that goes.
I think we all. Yeah, there was a road that would go up there that he would eventually get on, but from our house.
Yeah, I'm thinking from Watkins to Nicktown. I don't know where the road is. There is a road that goes from Bakerton up to Nicktown.
Well, that's Watkins
That's the
though.
one. That's
That's it. That's where her schoolhouse. That's where that was right there.
Oh,
The one
okay.
that you're
And
thinking about.
then up
Okay.
over the hill, but he used to go from our house up through the woods and catch that road way up in
Where it was
almost
up.
in Nicktown. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite a walk.
that was it was a good walk. Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying that. So then you moved to.
Then we moved down to Spangler. It was right below the Greek Catholic Church. We were right across the street from the Greek Catholic Church, and I think he bought 3 houses. It was a package deal. I don't know what he paid for any of them, but not that much. But all of them were really pretty bad. They didn't have bathrooms at that time, and I think that's one of the first things that I got when I first was. Well, first of all, when we moved down there, Louis had worked at the coal mine on the tipple outside, and I think he bought table and chairs. I went to Penn Traffic down Johnstown, I believe. And he bought kitchen table and chairs and a kitchen cupboard. So we had that, and then after that he bought a living room suite, the couch and the chair, and so we had a couple nice pieces of furniture. Otherwise, we just had the stuff that we had at home. It wasn't much of anything. And then after I graduated, I talked my dad into putting a bathroom in the place, and I paid for half, and he paid the other half. Susan Roebuck came down and put the bathroom in. And then about that time, Virgil started fixing TVs. So he got us a TV at price, so we bought a TV. So we really had it, when we moved to Barnesboro, we really, after a few years, we really had it, pretty nice furniture and a pretty nice.
So when you moved to Barnesboro, was that another move? Or was that, you're
No,
talking about the place in Spangler?
Yeah, Spangler.
Yeah.
It really was Spangler, but it's right across from Barnesboro. So.
Right. Huh.
So then Virginia got a job at the shirt factory, but that's when she was going with Dawn, so I don't think she worked there very long. And Mary got a job at the Taylor's Bakery, and things were pretty good then after that, because before that, I always had to ask Dad for money because he never thought about. But he would go on a drunk, he'd be drunk for 3 months. Never a sober day in 3 months, never washed himself, just get up in the morning, go down to the bar, come home at night drunk, jumping, he'd sleep with a cot in the living room, and he was never mean to us. I can only remember one time that Mary and I were doing our homework, we were sitting at the kitchen table, we were arguing, and he come out of the other room, and he got our heads and bashed them together. It's the only time he ever laid a finger on us that I know of. Then Bob was only 6, and so you had to take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary was always strong-minded or whatever. She wasn't real sympathetic with a little 6-year-old kid around.
Mm-hmm. So, hopping around here, but
Yeah, we're hopping around.
well, that's all right. But you would, well, I don't know anything else about Barnesboro or school or after you're done.
Well, when I went to high school, then we used to have to walk from where I lived to the high school, which was pretty far in the wintertime. And I remember one time I was the only one that went to school, and I went up through the back way, like where it wasn't a road that people drove on.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to school, and when I got up there, school was closed. So then I had to walk back, and going back, I stepped in a snowdrift and it was up over my head,
Oh my
and
goodness.
I was in there crying and couldn't get myself out of there. And
Hmm.
but finally, I did get out of there and get myself home.
How old were you then?
Oh my! I was in high school, so I would
Oh.
have to have been, like maybe 15,
Mm-hmm.
15 or 16 years old.
Hmm.
But I never cared. Well, I liked school real well, but I never had any real friends. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I guess there was me and three Italian. There's four of us. We were all Italian. We sort of all stuck together pretty good
Mm-hmm.
by the time I was through with high school.
Right. Hmm.
But I never went to any dances or anything that ever happened at high school.
Your brothers and that, did they do any of that?
Bob would have been the only one that went to high school. Mary didn't go to high school, or Virginia or Lou. None of them.
No, they did.
Yeah.
Lou didn't go either.
Lou didn't go. Lou went to Navy.
Uh-huh.
He graduated from 8th grade, got a job at Temple, and he worked there till he was 17, and he joined the Navy. And when he came out of the Navy, that's when he went to high school.
Oh, okay.
So he went to Taylor on Elderdice in Pittsburgh, and he did his high school in 4 years.
Hmm.
And then he went to college,
College.
Pittsburgh.
Right, on the GI Bill.
Yeah, the GI Bill.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
So then he got a job. I think his first job was in Washington, D.C.
Right. Huh. So after high school, then you went to nursing school in Spangler.
Right.
Right.
Which was just up the street. It's up close to the high school.
And didn't you say your first year you had to stay there or something, or no?
Oh, you had to stay there the whole time,
Oh, I see.
except the last. I think we graduated maybe in May, and September they brought in a new class, and so they asked me if I'd move home because they needed room for the new class that was coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the only one that moved home. The rest of the nurses got to stay. Well, there was only, by that time, I think we started off with 12 nurses. When I first went in training, there was 12 of us in that year, and I think there was 6 of us that graduated.
Hmm.
Little by little, they all dropped out.
Right. So was it like mainly practical nursing, or was there a lot of book learning too?
Oh, there was a lot of book learning.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a lot of book learning, lots of tests. You had to go, you probably you might go to class from 9 to 12, and then after lunch you'd have to go down to the hospital and maybe work till 3 o'clock, and then maybe have classes again till 7,
Mm-hmm.
and then, but you did more than an 8-hour day,
Right.
right from the start, it seemed to me.
Right. Yeah.
And by the time you were out of that, past that first year, you were on the floor all the time. They used us. They used the students as their help.
Mm-hmm.
You had a supervisor that told you what to do, give the meds, and did that kind of stuff. But the student nurses were the ones that took care of the patients. Took them out, walked them, made the beds, did whatever you had to do.
Didn't you say you had to go down to Pittsburgh for part of it?
Yeah, then you had 3 months in Pittsburgh at Children's Hospital. You usually did that in your 3rd year after you had some experience. And then
First time out of town? First time to actually be
Yeah.
away from home?
I think went to Philadelphia first. So you went to psychiatric hospital in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
Byberry, they called it. So you were there for 3 months. That was a really, really nice place. As far as the students went, had a real nice building, and the meals were, everybody gained weight when they went down there. The meals were terrific. And, but the patients, it was bad. It was a bad place for the patients. You had some of the buildings that you weren't safe to go in there.
Mm.
And when you were down there, you always made sure you had a whistle on you. You always made sure you had that whistle. And if a patient tried to attack you or whatever,
Right.
you blew the whistle. And as soon as you heard a whistle blowing, everybody ran to see, to take care of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to give a lot of shock therapy. So you had to go down. You had to do that. You didn't have to do it. You had to be there, like while they were doing it. That was terrible too. They would strap the patient down on the table and put the electric shock to them and convulse, and yeah, that was. And then other patients, they were actually like animals. They were in cages, just like a dog would be in a cage, and you'd have to open them just like a dog. Open the cage, put the food in there, and make sure they didn't quick jump out. It was bad in some of those places. That would have been in about 1948, about 1948.
How about you went to Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh?
And then we went to Children's. Children's was real nice. You lived in homes there. In Philadelphia, you lived like in nursing,
Building.
a nursing home, like you had nice rooms and stuff like that. But down at Children's Hospital, you lived in a home. So you had two to a room, two student nurses to a room. And you had to get up and walk actually a pretty good distance to the hospital to go to work. And
what part of Pittsburgh is that in? Is it still there?
it was at Children's Hospital.
Is that like in Oakland?
Yeah, where
Oakland
Children
Second?
is now.
Okay.
It's the same place. But you didn't stay at Children's Hospital. You stayed in these homes that they had, especially just for the student nurses that were coming there.
Right. And how about when you finished up school, you automatically got a job at Miners Hospital?
Yeah, they hired every one of us if we wanted to be hired. I don't know that they ever turned anybody down that wanted to be hired.
I know you went somewhere.
But even then, nurses there was a shortage, You could, they could always use more people. You never did double shifts or anything like that, though.
Yeah.
Like you do nowadays. They do, 12-hour shifts and 10-hour shifts, and they never did that. It's always just 8 hours.
So somewhere along the way, you took a trip out west.
Yeah, when after I graduated, Mildred and I, she was probably my closest friend once we were, in training. She was from Glencampbell, so she had an aunt that lived in Pasadena, California, and then my brother Louis was at Whipple. That was Army Hospital, I think, in Tucson, in Flagstaff, Arizona. So we decided to go out there. We took a month off. We took a train from Altoona to Chicago, and then from Chicago down. I know we were down in Texas somewhere, and across to Arizona. So we were out there for probably a month, and we stayed. Louis would always make arrangements for us where we stayed, and then we went out to Pasadena and stayed with her aunt for a short time. But while I was down in Arizona, I always had nosebleeds.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I just washed out by the time I got home. I don't know why.
Yeah, just dry air.
Altitude or whatever it
You're
was.
not used to the arid, dry air.
Yeah.
So you visited a town up on the side of a mountain.
Yeah, that was Jerome.
I'm surprised you remember the name of that town.
Yeah.
Because I was there like 5 years ago, and I always have a hard time remembering the name of that town. So it was a mining town. It's like way up high on the side of a mountain. Really kind of an interesting place. Now it's sort of a tourist trap.
But at that time, the hospital, they had actually big ropes, like steel ropes about that thick, actually tied around the hospital because everything was sliding down.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing that. We were just there. I mean, like say tourists,
Right.
Lou just took us up there to show us what this place looked like.
Right.
And I remember there was places like in the side of the hill, like the caves or something he took us up to see.
Yeah, it's still
But
there.
at that time, he was going with a nurse who was in the Navy. I forget what her name was. But he met her while he was in the Navy, and he was going with her. So she came along with us. And at night, while we were staying there, he would take us to different places where they were having corn roasts and things like that. I don't remember much about Pasadena, though, what we did when we were there.
Pasadena, California?
California.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember her aunt. I remember her taking us to Hollywood and to where the movie stars were.
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were out there touristing in Hollywood. Huh. So then you caught a train back to work.
Back to work, yeah.
Yeah. And somewhere along the line you met Dad.
Well, I knew him from catechism.
I
knew him from when we were kids, and he was an altar boy, and went to church up there all the time. And then I think the way I started going with him was Aunt Bertha was a nurse,
mm-hmm.
and she asked me one time if I would go out with him. And so I said I would if she could, if he would bring somebody else for my girlfriend, because I really didn't know him that well, and I always had trouble talking to people. And so anyway, that's what we did. Mildred went out with Mike, and I went out with Dad. We went to
Mike who?
Mike Mazurik.
Mazurak.
And we went up to the VFW in Evansburg.
Uh-huh.
And anyway, Mike was pouring a drink when the drinks came, he was pouring the drink for Mildred and not paying attention, poured it right on her lap. So she was going, she was all wet and everything. Anyway, it did go over very good. And so he never called me again for a long time. And then this friend of Dad's, Ettore Pulicante was his name. He used to get Dad. He lived close to where Dad lived. Like all those people from Bakerton, they all had boarders.
Mm-hmm.
They were men that came over.
Right.
They were just looking for work and getting into the United States. So anyway, Ettore asked Dad to bring him down to visit us, and he said that Dad had a nice daughter, meaning Mary,
mm-hmm.
and he was going to bring him down. Well, Dad knew me already, but then when he came down, then after that, I think he called me up and asked me to go out. And we've been together for a little while, but not very long. In the meantime, I went with another guy. He was in the army, but then he'd come home, and then that's when I met him. And then he went back. He went to Korea. Then he rejoined the. He was out of the army. Then he rejoined the army because he could get a job. And he went back to Korea. Then he came home from Korea, and I think really the first time, the day he came home with a ring. Him and his sisters went out and bought me an engagement ring. So he brought the ring. In the meantime, I'm going out with Dad, and he comes in with that ring. And
Old-fashioned romance.
I said, no, I can't take that. He said, well, what am I going to tell my sisters and my mother? He said, well, take it for now. And we'll just tell them we're engaged, but we're really not engaged. But you just wear the ring for a while, and then you can send it back. So that's what we did.
How about that?
So anyway, I really always felt bad about that because I really kind of broke his heart. And he ended up marrying a Japanese girl.
Yeah, there you go.
He went back to
Back
Japan
to Japan.
after that. So then I think that's really the only reason Dad and I got married. He figured before Jeff gets back, I'd better hurry up and marry her.
Right.
Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have, because he had an awful lot of girlfriends. Half in Bakerton and a few in Warrensburg.
So then, when you guys got married, you moved to the farm.
No, when we got married, we moved down where the Moon Hotel used to be in Barnesburg. We had an apartment upstairs there.
Okay.
And we lived there
This is new.
till Yvonne was born. And in the meantime, I had, Dad was working, and I was pregnant with Yvonne, so I had to quit working. And the mine was on strike. And so I sold my car. I didn't need a car anymore. And Mary wanted it, so I sold my car to Mary. And then we moved up and Mary got married then. And when she got married, then I moved back with Dad. So we moved with Yvonne. So we moved back up there, and we stayed there for a while. Dad was good for a long time. And then he started educating again, and so we moved.
But he was taking care of Yvonne? Your dad was
Oh yeah,
good with Yvonne?
he liked Yvonne. Oh yeah,
Yeah?
he was always tossing her little pieces of his bread and others, feeding her
Like a
potatoes,
bird.
Like a bird. Yeah.
feeding her potatoes. And, yeah, she was.
So that's who's been watching over me all these years.
So
I didn't
he-
know.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he liked you. He was real good to you. So then he started that drinking again, and then after that, well, during that time, then Bob got married, and him and Emily moved in with us, with Dad.
Where?
You know,
Oh my goodness.
Bob and Emily moved in with us, and
At your dad's place.
that's my dad's place.
Okay.
That's why Emily always said she used to push you around the buggy all the time,
Yeah.
take you downtown or wherever,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. It was news to me.
so then we all lived there, and that didn't go over so good with
I
Dad
would
being
think.
drunk all the time, and so then this Fuzzaloo Shart
There's a
told
name for
Frank about that place up at the farm was empty, and there was two places, you know, it was a two-family house. So Bob and Emily moved on the one side, and Frank and I moved on the other side, and we just left Dad down there by himself. So that didn't last too long till Dad got really, really sick. And so they took him, my brother Reno took him out of the hospital, put him in a nursing home up in Evansburg. And I don't think he was in there for a month. And one day he knocks on the door, and Reno does, and there he is with my dad saying, you have to take care of him. So then Dad moved back with us again.
Mm-hmm.
Emily and Bob on one side, me and Frank on the other, Dad. And he was good for long. He was really sick, but when he came and lived with us, then he got better. He was good, and then Dad, Frank, he was always really good to him, and he would started helping him. We had like real big garden and lots of trees, and the lawn needed mowed, and the wood needed piled in the basement and all that. And Dad helped with anything, and boy, he was real good. And one day he said he was walking uptown, and he didn't come back. And when he come back, I saw him coming down over the hill, staggering all over the damn place. There he is, drunk again. So he came, he had a bottle of whiskey wine, who knows what it was. And I watched him come up the lane, because I was, worried about, worried bed all day and that. Watched him go up the lane and put that bottle of booze in the tree down the bottom. I saw him do it. Put it in there and come up to the house, and right up to his room, and went to bed. And then he sobered up the next day, but he just kept going down and visit the tree, and but he was better then. He was good. And so one day he told me he was going to go to Barnesville. He didn't know when he'd come back, and he went to Barnesville and never did come back. So he went to Barnesville and he got an apartment right across the street from Reno, just a one-room apartment, and he was drunk all the time. So eventually he ended up with stroke, and so they called, and well, by that time we had moved here, and he lived here with us too.
Oh, is that right?
So he must have come back. Come back, yeah. Yeah, he lived here with us too for a while. And Frank's dad lived with us for a while. And then Babuki lived in the trailer. And then Uncle Virgil lived with us for a while.
All that here?
All that here.
I had no idea.
I remember.
You remember these people?
Yep.
Huh.
I remember.
Yeah, well, I think you were out by the time Virgil came.
No, I was here.
But anyway, Virgil slept in this room right here.
Because I would have been born about, I forget now. I was here, I guess. 1957 I was born. So, were we here? We would have been here by then. Like that.
No, I think I was 5 when we came here. I was born in 55.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
Reynolds
we're
was
60.
born the year we came here.
Okay, so I was
we moved
born
here in December.
I was born in Evansville.
Reynolds was born in May.
Okay. So all those people lived here. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I remember when the trailer went in.
Yeah. We bought that trailer up in Nicktown. It was a little trailer. It was really, really nice.
Oh, yeah.
But then eventually, I can't remember why we got the bigger trailer.
Right.
But she wanted, well, I don't know. We bought the bigger trailer, didn't have the,
It was the pink one and then the brown one.
yeah. And Babuka used to come down in the morning, and you guys would be eating your oatmeal, and if you didn't eat your oatmeal, she saved it for you. And when you come home for lunch, you had to eat the oatmeal first. And that went on for just a few times, and then I told her, no more of that. And we never got along. Babuki and we never got along with Stella either. Stella, I always felt,
A little rough. Who built the porch on Babuki's place?
I think Dad and Johnny Arco.
I actually thought it was Uncle Bob.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
a good question. I got a vague recollection of Bob building that thing.
It could have been.
Yeah, I mean, he had the capability, right? He was pretty good at all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And he wasn't working that much.
Right.
because he was always so nervous. He missed a lot of work. A lot of work.
Huh. So Uncle Bob and Aunt Emily and you and Dad, your dad, were all in the house together up there, and then things evolved. You moved here. Where did Emily and Bob go? Did they stay up in the farm for a while? Or?
No, they left first. They
Oh.
moved down to a little road down there by Herzog's. That's how she knows Herzog's. Ray and all them so well.
Mm-hmm.
Right across the hill, there used to be a little tiny house there. And
Do you remember that house? I remember
they-
that house too.
they bought that house. And,
No.
they moved there, and then when they did that, this Ray Charles was his name, and they moved into where Bob lived, and they lived there for probably maybe 3 years. I don't know how long I lived up at the farm. Probably 5 years. I don't know. I can't remember. About that. So then Ray Charles, Margie Charles, and her husband moved in, and they had 3 boys. So her and I would always try to do our work real early in the morning, and then we'd take the kids, run you all around that farm, down in the back there, and always played together. Now her husband was gone most of the time. Of course, Dad worked 3 shifts,
Mm-hmm.
so her and I, and the kids all got along real good together. Remember any of that?
No, I don't.
You were too young.
Yeah.
I remember this part.
And then Marge moved up. Then I was there by myself. And then one day Dad came home from work, and he said he was at the fire club like Sunday mornings. He used to still come down to the fire club, and Johnny Arco used to meet him. And anyway, he said there's this house down here for sale. So we decided to buy the house, and anyway, I remember they wanted $8,500 for it. Or was it 8,000? And here, the one that stood for us when we got married, Gene Simber and his wife, they were bidding on the house too. And so we had to, and it was Marita's dad that owned the house.
Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't him that owned the house. It was Simmelsberger.
Okay.
Mark Simmelsberger lived next door here.
Okay.
And then the other Marge Simmelsberger, which was Marita's sister, lived here.
Oh.
And then they moved to Florida. So Morris, who I'm sure, that was his daughter over there,
Mm-hmm.
and his daughter lived here. So he let Dad have the house rather than Simber, but it cost us $500 more.
Mm.
So then in May, we moved in here.
Mm.
So
Oh,
So we were here when Dad died. I remember that because when Mary came over to tell me that Dad died, she brought her kids over. Her dad was in the hospital, didn't have a stroke. So she brought her kids over for me to watch, and her and Charlie were going down to see my dad down at the hospital. And I guess pretty quickly he died just hours later. I never got to see him again.
Right.